Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. This is the final continuation of my controller guide series. We're on to gadgets. This one I can say was much requested. I guess there's a lot of gadget players out there. And I do want to give, I guess, a disclaimer at the beginning. I've seen a lot of people, or I've been told by a lot of people that, there's people trashing on or calling these guides and stuff that I've done trash and to ignore them. Basically, the way I respond to that is the reason why I'm going to this level and making all these guides in depth for most of these guides are 40 minutes long for all the power sets, at least as a controller power set. I did my 40-minute tank one. I plan some other ones in the future. The reason why I'm doing this is that my only goal with these guides is to raise the average player's skill level. Like, if people can watch these guides and take something away from it or improve their playstyle because they're watching those videos, then I did my job. The reason why I want to do that is that if I raise enough of the average player skill level, or if they're, still, they may not be controlling right, or maybe using an inefficient tank rotation, and now or a DPS rotation, range, or single target. They may not have had a single target rotation before, and after watching these guides, they do. Then that's great for me, and it's great for the game because it raises that average player skill up. And then those players are going to be, once just like me, they're going to be unhappy with the easy content we're getting. They're going to want harder and more challenging content because they've raised their own skill level high enough up that they can do that. So that's my goal. If there's better rotations out there, like, I'm not self-proclaiming myself to be some DPS genius with these guides. I would have considered myself in the past that, but now I'm still, or at least after stats revamp, I'm much more of a, or even before stats revamp, during AMs, like I'm much more of a support-oriented person. Like, I focus on controlling, tanking, stuff like that. I DPS when I have to, but it's just the case that after stats revamp, a lot of the guides you see on the forums are just so outdated. They're or not kept up to date because the people don't like, or people have left the game or don't have as much interest as they did before. So if there's other people saying they have better rotations, that's fine. Some of the power sets guides I've done, I feel like those are the best rotations. Other times, I feel like there's probably some better ones out there, especially with gadgets, because there's a lot of people that have been gadgets for a very long time. But here's basically my rendition or my offering to a gadgets guide. This guide's going to have 4 rotations, 2 for melee and 2 for single target. Basically, as well, just like my other guides, I'm going to have annotations in the comments, linked to all the different sections and the raid testing footage at the end. So basically, in terms of DPS spec, I spec exactly the same, and obviously you probably already know this, I just got to cover it anyway. Obviously, it's going to be super hard spec, DPS innates, max might and power, and then I put the rest into health because I run the health artifact. Some cases I run the heat vision artifact, but it's still, you're going to be melee range, so you still want health regardless. In terms of the mods, you're always going to have obviously blast adapter. For head mods, you could run, for me, unless the power set has like a really good supercharge, like say Oblivion or sometimes Big Gun or Berserk, stuff like that, then I'll use the supercharge head mods. But if it doesn't, I like to focus on the crit head mods. A lot of people think that's just for precision, but you do get the 2% critical, attack chance and damage chance. So that's why I use the crit head mods. And I find with gadgets, you could run Asphyxiation Gash 3 or you could run Bunker Buster 3, but most of the gadgets use Neovenom, and I use Neovenom a lot in my rotations as well, so it's better to have the critical battle display. In terms of your neck, you're always going to have Escalating Might. In your back mod, I've got Accelerated Battle Display just because one of my rotations involves clipping it. So, and other than that, you could run Berserker if you wanted to, just because you're melee range and could be taking spike damage. Your chest, I run Extended Supercharge. That 5% helps make up for the fact that I'm not wearing critical Supercharge head mod. Obviously for trinkets, I've got the DPS trinket, Orbital and Supply. I also run the Collector's Edition Bat Drone. You could run the LexCorp bot if you wanted. You could run the Slayer Sunken Rune if you wanted. It's all choices. Artifacts are always going to be, well, not always, but it's always going to be the Scrap of the Soul Cloak, and then I'll switch between the Might Artifact and the Solar Amplifier. And as you can see, the Solar Amplifier does give me 127 more Might base stats than the Health Artifact. And, it's a bit more selfish in a good way. Like you're helping yourself out more by running the amplifier and just getting the buff from someone else in the group running this. Some cases I'll switch back and forth, but those are the 3 artifacts you've got to choose from with gadgets. Okay, so on to the DPS loadouts. I have 2 of them for melee. The first one, basically the only difference between the 2 is one's a bit more stationary than the other. So if you find yourself, like say it's older content where you're constantly chasing the ads and stuff down hallways, and obviously that's not going to be the loadout to use. This one is not that one. This one is basically my other one, Sonic Cry, Clip with Stealth, and on Stealth I have EMP, and then Implosion Mine, Gauss Grenade, Fear Gas, and Suppressor Turret I use for clipping. So the rotation obviously is going to be from left to right. The reason why I have EMP on Stealth, EMP is one of those powers that benefit from the extra tick on Stealth, and then as well as it's a little bit less awkward than having, like say, Cryofoam, where you can't immediately clip off it. The animation of EMP, the dovetail, will clip it automatically from Stealth. So it's more, not as beneficial, but it's a lot more smoother having EMP on Stealth. You can also have P-Dart and then have EMP on your regular rotation, but I find that it parses a bit lower than what this one does. The first parser will always be a bit lower because all the dots aren't out, and then the second, third, as you go forward, the rotation will be a bit more normal because I don't have the dots from the burning and fear gas ticking during that first parser, the entire duration. The second loadout is going to be this one. As I said, this will be the more stationary rotation. It's going to be Sonic Cry, Clip with Stealth, and on Stealth you're going to have P-Dart, and then we've got Thermite Mine, Fear Gas, Implosion Mine, and EMP Pulse. And basically the same thing, that's from left to right. And I find like this one is slightly higher than the other rotation, but this is very stationary because you're using double mines. I find that Suppressor Turret, in my situation, I don't necessarily need Suppressor Turret because I've got my, obviously my Collector's Edition Control Drone, as well as Suppressor Turret is nothing fancy. Robot Psychic does more damage than Suppressor Turret, even with Suppressor Turret having the PIs. The only beneficial to Suppressor Turret is that it does the same damage, pretty much the same damage as melee and range. There's basically no drop off. It does slightly higher melee damage depending on how often it procs Flamethrower, so it's not like an amazing thing anyway. Just like I did with the first rotation, if you don't want to clip using it, you can just have Suppressor Turret out instead, as long as you have it on Stealth so it doesn't disappear or detransform. So if you feel like you don't want it for the clipping, then have it out. If you do feel like you want it for the clipping for Fear Gas, just so it's instant, then have it. With that second one, basically I'm not feeling the need for Suppressor Turret because I've got the extra damage and burning ticks from the Thermite. Okay, just letting you know, these will be the base stats that I'll be having all for my testing, except the Supercharged ones. 27,891 might base, and no current effects at all. Alright, so as you're going to see with this rotation, with Fear Gas and the mines, it's going to kind of launch these sparring targets all over the place, which is quite frustrating. It's just something to deal with in league halls. But despite that fact, and missing damage, I'm still getting anywhere between 27k and 30k parsers unbuffed. The parsers that dip below is just that obviously I missed too much damage just from either Sonic Cry or Fear Gas missing or one of the mines missing, etc. So that's why I kind of, in a sec here, you'll see me kind of stop and then restart, and I'm still getting the same 27 to 30k parsers. Okay, so just with the other rotation, the joys of using power like Fear Gas that knocks everything away. There's a few instances where I missed damage on one of the targets I got too far away, or delayed damage from Implosion Mine pulling them back. But I'm still getting similar, not as high parses as my other one, but this one will get anywhere between 25, 27, 26 in that range. All with low crit numbers. It's not like I'm critting. When I get 27k or something, I'm not critting that high. You saw a 27k parser, and that was a 15% crit rate. So obviously, I'm going to be having a lot higher if I have the chance to get some nicer crits in. Okay, so in terms of single target, I've got 2 rotations basically to show you. One I did with the heat vision artifact, and one without, just because I know some of you don't have the heat vision artifact yet, or at least up to 120. But this rotation that I'll show you in a moment for that gives you kind of incentive to do that. Now, once again, there may be higher parsing rotations out there. This is just what I use. In terms of the mods, I'm using Critical Battle Display 3 to get the crits. In terms of it, I'm using, in terms of loadout, taser pull, stealth, and on stealth, I have surprise attack, because I always make sure I'm within surprise attack range. It's only like 15, 20 meters, I believe, something like that, but it's not like you have to be max range. Not like 90% of all fights in this game, you can be in surprise attack range. Then Fear Gas, Cryofoam, Battle Display, and Neo Venom Boost. The reason why I run Neo Venom Boost outside of Stealth is just my personal preference. In respect to that, if I'm on Stealth, Stealth is already really finicky in this game. Like a strong breeze will knock you out of Stealth. So if I'm on Stealth trying to hit Neo Venom and then Surprise Attack, I could get knocked out of Stealth, and in that case I'm missing the Surprise Attack damage. Or in this one I can do a much smoother clip, have Neo Venom active, and always make sure I get the Surprise Attack damage from Neo Venom Boost. So that's why I run it. If your personal preference is to always run Neo Venom on Stealth and you feel comfortable doing that, then sure, sub in another power or put Suppressor turret on or something. But that's what I use. And on Stealth, obviously, I've got Bunker just in case. I want to do use Bunker first and then use Neo Venoms to ever since then. But that essentially is that loadout. The Heat Vision loadout, the second one, you'll see the one glitch here with the Heat Vision artifact, invalid tactic ability. That's a glitch right now where it won't switch over your armory to Heat Vision because it's not called Heat Vision anymore. It's called Amplified Heat Vision, so it screws up the coding or whatever. So it's kind of frustrating in raids. But in terms of that loadout, I'm running Taser Pull, Battle Display, Stealth. On Stealth is Surprise Attack. And then Fear Gas, Amplified Heat Vision, and Neo Venom Boost. So it's essentially the same rotation, same loadout, essentially. The rotation changes. But I've seen greater potential with this rotation, as opposed to the other one. You'll see the parser here in a second. It's quite good, considering that I won't be buffed. And in terms of the Heat Vision artifact, it'll be even better once you reach 160 because it's going to have all the burning ticks as well. Now, right off the bat, I'll show you with the Heat Vision artifact and Heat Vision. If I do the blue vision and then jump clip off it, I don't get the burning anymore for that. Now, with regular Heat Vision, I would. Like if I just took this off and did Heat Vision and then jump clipped it, the burning ticks are, as you can see, are already applied there. Now, I'm assuming once this reaches 160, that might be possible. Because right now, to get the burning ticks, you have to hold the entire duration, which I'll show you here. You have to hold the entire duration of Heat Vision, then it explodes, then it sets up the burning. So you don't get the burning ticks while you're doing Heat Vision. So it's a bit of a loss of a damage if you're just going to jump clip off it at, if it's only at 80 and not 120, compared to letting it tick the whole way. So hopefully, once you get it to 160, that won't be an issue. It should hopefully burn like the normal Heat Vision does, and then obviously all the burning around you. And then obviously, in terms of the spec, nothing changes. It's still max DPS crits, max power, super powered spec. That all stays the same as my melee rotation. Kind of fumble the power a bit there and taking the soda, but as you can see with this rotation, obviously your higher parses are going to be when you're using surprise attack versus rotations where it's still on cooldown, so it's basically like every other parser. But as you can see there, first parser 17.8 unbuffed, and that was with a low crit rate. 17.2 with only a 20% crit rate. So even using critical battle display 3, I'm still not critting. Other rotations may get crits of like 30% or so. Or buffed even that 25, 24% crit on 17.8. That turns into a 20k rotation easy on a nitro. This rotation, I will admit, is more inconsistent to the other one. This was just a matter of me. I know some people don't have obviously the 120 solar artifact, or even at 80, so I needed to find a rotation that was at least, somewhat still competitive to the other one. And this one, you're still getting 15, 16, 14k parsers on it, so it's still on the high end for might single target parsers. Not compared to probably what Celestial or Hardlight will do, or the other gadgets rotation. But it's still, if you don't have the solar artifact up, this will still be a competitive rotation for you and not let you down compared to some of the other ones. Okay, I also wanted to add this section to the guide as well. Back when I did my trinket pet testing guide, somebody mentioned what was the damage on Suppressor turret. So I went through and did that separately. I didn't include that in the video, I just included it in the comments. So this is the perfect opportunity to show that here. So this is the 60-second parsers times 3 of them, and then I took an average. This is on the test server because I wasn't gadged at the time, so it's 235 CR. Robot Psychic range was about 60k average. Suppressor turret with it only using days PI was 86k. Suppressor turret range was 87k. Suppressor turret melee was 89. So like I said earlier in the video, suppressor turret, the bonus of that is that it pretty much does the same damage range as in melee. The electric PI was a little bit higher at 92k. And then if I had both PIs up, like days and electric at the same time, it does about 96k. And then Robot Psychic melee is 104. So it's Suppressor turret optimal, like best case scenario damage, still is less than Robot Psychic at melee, but obviously it's going to be much higher in any kind of range situation. The only issue is that it seems like both Robot Psychic and especially Suppressor turret die quite easily, which is quite frustrating. And then Suppressor turret, if you're not in combat for like less than 10 seconds, it explodes as well. But it gives you an idea, like turret with a frost grenade without PI is about 2.7 to 2.8k hit. The frost grenade with PI, 3.0 to 3.2, so it's not like a giant difference there. Flamethrower, basically, if it's melee range to get that higher damage, it just depends on how much Flamethrower ticks. So Flamethrower without PI, with PI was 600 to 900, stuff like that. But the Frost Grenade seemed like the better choice for damage. So basically, there's it just showing in a graph. So Robot Psychic melee is obviously going to be higher. Then that's both PIs at 96, electric PI, melee range, daze, and the way at the bottom is Robot Psychic range. So once again, all those special DPS that want to keep putting Robot Psychics in their range loadouts, like munitions and everything else, or even Rage DPS putting it range, you could be getting better damage with a Boo, you could be getting better damage with a LexCorp Trinket, because Robot Psychic is trash for range. You'd be much better, finding a power that's going to do more than 60k damage in a minute. I'm sure every power set has a power that, that can be clipped in or has a short cooldown, cast time, whatever. That's going to net them more than 60k damage in a minute. But that's it, guys, in terms of the suppressor turret damage. Okay, for the supercharge testing, we've got a couple options here. We've got Asphyxiation Gas, Bunker Buster, and Neo Venom Boost. Now, in terms of what I run, basically it's different for each situation. Bunker Buster, I feel, as 100% super, it doesn't do enough damage to justify always trying to earn it. It's not going to serve you well in the long run. Now, the situations I do use Bunker or may use Bunker first is right at the beginning of a raid. If I go into full super, I may use a Bunker right then. Just to get a little bit of a boost, and then use Asphyxiation Gas after that, or use Neo Venom after that. Single target, I always use Neo Venom Boost. The only issue is that, obviously, Neo Venom Boost is only doing damage if you're doing damage. So if there's moments that you can't do damage, or it's a bit slower, or you're going to have to block soon, and someone drops the supply, it's more beneficial for you to go over and hit Asphyxiation Gas each time, especially for on ads, because if you get interrupted or there's moments you're going to have to block or not get the full extent of Neo Venom Boost, it's more beneficial to run Asphyxiation Gas. But we'll get out of stealth here. So I'm fully buffed on Nitro and Omega, which puts me at 29,884, and a little bit higher once I pop the Trinket and the Bottled City Soda. So we get a more accurate indication of what it's going to be like. Rock. And Bunker. Obviously the parser data got a bit screwed up because it got split. So that 3,6,873 plus 5,6. So it's 559,437. At that would have been a lot higher. Probably should have screenshotted that before, but obviously that's full supply Trinket, Mega Soda, and everything. That was about 560,000. Okay, and for the Asphyxiation Gas test, see what the might is, 35,671. And that put it at 258,000. Yeah, 258,572. So almost 260,000 damage from that, and then as you can saw, it was about 560 there for a bunker. And obviously, it's just one parser, but it just gives you a basic idea of what it's capable of when you use supply, trinket, everything to max it out. Okay, so in terms of the controller rotation, that stays very similar to all my other gadgets and controller videos. The spec is obviously the exact same. Hybrid spec, max power crits, max might and power, then the rest into VIT after you've taken Hand Blaster down to Solar Flame. The only difference for superpowered, I spec all the resistance and the breakout masteries, so I get a little bit of power return. You don't have to, it's just because I have the skill points to do that. It doesn't really scale that well, so it's not like you're getting a lot of power in returns. You don't necessarily have to worry about that. It's just something I do. If you got the skill points, you can do it. If not, then that's fine. Obviously, you're going to have replenishing adapter. Obviously, you're going to have replenishing proc on your neck. Your back mod. There's no, like, you could have accelerated neutralizer, but you don't have to do that because there's very few instances we'll be running 2 shields as gadgets. And you always want to use distractor or neuro neutralizer anyway because of the aggro drop. Chest mod, you're always going to have power efficiency. Hand mod, you know, your choice, max damage, or if you want to run stealth as gadgets. Controller, what you shouldn't be doing that because stealth is based off DPS, so you won't get the same crits as you would for controller, and your debuffs won't work. So you want to just stick with max damage. Maxed out bottled city soda, obviously, and for your artifacts, you're gonna have parasite harness and soul cloak. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me about the Amulet of Rao. That's the control artifact that increases your debuffs, like the 20, I think 2040 is it 60% or whatever. But yeah, same thing on those 3 levels. Now, my goal as a controller always is to give out and provide the most power possible to the group. And by running Amulet of Rao, you won't fit that category because the Amulet of Rao will only help your debuff strength. And what I mean by that is the attack and defense debuff for 10% and heal is 25. So it's not actually 40% stronger or anything. It's just basically you times that 40% by the 25% or 40 times 10%, and that's what your new debuff value is. So if your heal debuff, it could be like, 32% instead of 25, and your defense one will be like, 12, 13, 14 instead of 10. So it's really not that much of a difference. In addition to the fact that there's not too many fights in this game that even require a debuff. There's like a lot of boss fights have heal mechanics, but that's more the heal mechanic itself, like Ultimate Soldier and his shield. It's not that if you put a healing debuff on, he's going to heal back, not heal back at all. He's still going to heal back because it's based on mechanic and not debuff or enrage timer. So that's why it's going to be more beneficial to run those 2 artifacts as opposed to anything else. Trinkets, always run the Summer Trinket because it's going to give you a little bit of power back. If you want a little bit more power still, you can run the CC Trinket over the Orbital, and then other trinkets are going to be the same. So in terms of rotation, basically you got 2 options. The one you see I use in videos, basically where I use my debuffs off cooldown, is because I'm trying to earn as much supercharge as quickly as possible. And I have the power pool to pull that off. So if you don't have that power pool to pull that off, then basically you'll be using this rotation. This is the one. So Solar Flame, clip with your debuff Supercharge Generator, then your first debuff, or effectively your 3rd debuff, clip your Supercharge Generator again, recharge 1, recharge 2, and then basically recharge 3 into Supercharge Generator, and then refresh your debuff. That's the rotation you would use if you want to be power conservative. That maximizes your debuffs as well as your Supercharge generation. And if you don't, basically the one I use is obviously you're just using powers each one up. So every single time you're just trying. Obviously you're refreshing your debuffs early, but I'm earning more supercharge this way than I would using any other rotation. The only other thing is, I think, do I still have it set up on? Out instead of yeah, okay. Because I had a question in a previous video. I always mentioned you can use dual pistols as well. So the reason why is if I do a Solar Flame, basically I've healed myself for 33 and 43. So that's 76 supercharge altogether by using that. Now, dual pistols, this is dual pistols even though it's got a martial arts icon. But the combo you want to use there is Slipshot, which is basically just the second weapon down. Slipshot, basically that's going to one that fires you backwards. Now, it's a bit awkward of a clip, you have to get used to it, but I'll show you here. It healed myself for 10 and 66. So I've got 76 supercharge from dual pistols and 76 supercharge from hand blasters, and it's basically it's just as quick as clipping hand blasters. It's just a little bit more awkward, but you could still do that, and obviously it's going to do way less damage than solar flame. But if you prefer dual pistols, that's what you do, or use hand blasters. There's no other weapon that's going to give you the supercharge regen you need efficiently to work with your rotations besides those two powers right there. That's it.
Mission completed.